Now, has Treasurer Jim Chalmers got a new plan to transform our economy into some sort of utopian enmeshment of government and the private sector? Or is he just outlining a 21st century version of socialism? Let's go to Gigi Foster, Professor with the School of Economics at the University of New South Wales. Thanks for joining us, Gigi. How would you characterise this essay from Jim Chalmers?
Concerning, Chris. I read it, and I guess the first thing I thought was, really, these are the people who were in charge during the COVID period and displayed a vast ignorance of economics, and now they are claiming to be able to fix problems that they think economics has. This notion that capitalism is by nature bad because it has greedy people who are operating in it. I mean, how would I ever trust that these people know what they're talking about? Where is the proof that, in fact, there's a problem the way that they describe it? Now, I would also say greedy capitalism is something that Adam Smith talked about. Yes, people pursue their own wealth maximization. That's why markets work. That's what we teach in economics. And I would love Jim Chalmers to come to my economics class, and we can debate these issues. But capitalism is innately a place where people can pursue their own goals and innovate, and it becomes something that the society benefits from when properly ministered by core business that the government should be involved in, rather than government dictates about values or ideologies that somebody in Parliament or in a bureaucracy somewhere decides is a good idea.
Yeah, I shudder to think that we've all compulsorily got a lot of our savings in superannuation. It's our money that the government has made us put into superannuation. And now they're saying that the government will actually direct where those super funds are going to invest their money to reflect their Labor values. It's frightening where all that could lead. But let's look at one really important sector, and that is energy in this country. We are an energy-rich country. When we had unconstrained approaches to energy, we had the cheapest and most reliable energy just about on the planet. We now are an energy-scarce country, and we have a price crisis as well. Hasn't 90% of that come about because of government interventions?
Yes, indeed. In fact, the inflation that is spoken about in the AFR article by John Kehoe is, in fact, a function of the COVID mismanagement over the last few years, mainly. I mean, there's a bit of the Russian war in there, but it's a lot about COVID. And this notion of pursuing a particular climate agenda under an ideological rather than an actual scientific sort of plan, that is very scary to me, because that's something we see a lot these days. We see people making grand value-based claims without the backing of scientific evidence. What are we supposed to get from all of this constriction of our energy markets? What exactly are we supposed to get? A reduction in how much and when, and how many people are going to have to suffer in the meantime? And we know that suffering will happen. So it's a case of trading off clear suffering today against kind of boogeyman benefits tomorrow. And that doesn't convince a scientist like myself. And we had the same situation with the COVID agenda. The COVID policies, were basically not defended on a scientific basis. And we knew there was suffering then, and we were told, oh, just, do it and everything will be better later. This very vague notion of a benefit. I don't like that. We want clear evaluation of government policy based on cost-benefit principles, which are known and are simply being ignored.
Yeah, it is essentially anti-democratic too. I mean, the market economy properly policed can be fairly democratic, especially with shareholder activism and the like, and individual shareholders. But we have a situation where Labor said that they wouldn't do anything radical before they get into government. Now they start talking about this radical agenda. And you have had all the World Economic Forum big wigs, billionaires and political players in Davos last week, of course. And they seem to think that they're the elite. They know how to run the world. And if they can get governments to cooperate with the multi-billionaire multinationals, they can decide what happens with the world without the inconvenient recourse of putting these proposals to voters and getting endorsement for them.
Absolutely right. And what conceit, don't you think, Chris? I mean,
Absolutely.
What conceit? A bunch of rich people saying that, oh yeah, we know how to run the world. We know better than you. And around the world, we're going to do these things. I mean, come off it. First of all, the power everywhere in any nation today is with the people. And capitalism is already values-based in the sense that it's the value that a customer places on different goods that informs the market. That tells suppliers what kind of things to produce and how much. And we have seen how preferences evolve. As people get richer, they tend to spend more on certain things. They spend more on clean air and clean waterways, for example, when they earn more money. I mean, that's just a consequence of people getting richer. So this notion that somehow rich governments need to be the ones to tell everybody in their population, oh, you have to behave in this way. I mean, that isn't consistent with the way that we've actually seen the environment protected over the many decades that we've cared at all about the environment, which is in fact something that's been consumer-led. It's the consumers who have demanded that there be cleaner environments for their children, for themselves and their children. And we don't see a clean environment in places that are lower income. In a lot of places in Africa, that's the last thing they're thinking about because they're trying to feed their families. So it's the market that reflects values of consumers, not that somehow takes directives from an elite somewhere about what should be valued.
Spot on, Gigi. You're a voice of reason in a sea of madness. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.